All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to our producer interview series. Today I'm joined by the man who is behind Sounding Like a Pro, Owen. He is a kind of a jack of all trades in a way, someone who I've followed and been connected with online and even had the pleasure of working on some stuff with. He is a music producer, an audio engineer. I would say an entrepreneur, kind of in many different ways, a content creator, and even someone who is putting out their own music themselves. So a lot of different avenues to what you do, but I've definitely seen your grind online. I've always been inspired by it, and I'm excited for us to kind of learn about yourself. But I know that you could probably give a better backstory and introduction to all the stuff that you do. So I'll ask you, who is Owen Owen Potter? Who is sounding like a pro?
Well, first, thanks for having me. Super
Thanks
excited to
for
be here.
being here, man.
It's going to be a great time. So who is Owen? When it comes to like beat making, I bet you I started beat making at probably around the age of like 14, 14-ish. You know, and it obviously wasn't anything impressive. I was playing
Yeah.
in bands with some friends, and on the side, I was trying to make music that I was hearing on the radio, which at the time seemed like an absolute mystery to everybody. Because back in the day, it was like everything was just coming out of LA, and that, you
Yeah.
really got to see what was going on. And so when I was trying to start making music, that's where my journey with GarageBand started because
Okay.
it was right there on my computer. It was free. You open it up, and when you open a DOP for the first time, it can be a little intimidating. You're like,
Yeah.
what are all these buttons? Like, what's an EQ? I've got no clue.
It's just like a
Um,
blank canvas, right?
yeah, I'm slapping things on that, I guess like nowadays you'd put on like mastering chains, and I was putting it on like my guitars because I had just no idea what was going on, but it
Yeah.
sounded good. Um, and so this interest in production and making things like that led me to asking the guitar teacher I had at the time, because he ran a studio as well. So I was like, hey, can you help me learn about production a bit more? So he started teaching me like about programming drums and showing me how to like
Okay.
put it into Pro Tools so I could use like organic aspects to my music.
Okay. Yeah.
And from this led me to audio engineering school where you do audio engineering, production, entertainment law, even to make sure that
Okay.
you keep your behind
Yeah.
all
And then get
safe.
the business in check, right?
Yeah, yeah. And when you're surrounded in this sort of environment where it's so supportive about making as much music as possible, my music started to get a lot better.
hmm
And that's where I think I started to, you know, post it on SoundCloud and put it up on BeatStars. And let me tell you, when you're a broke college kid and you make like a beat sale, I mean that feeling was crazy. I was like, I'm buying the best pizza I can tonight. Like, let's go. And it wasn't until years later, kind of like in the pandemic, when I started to kind of dive into the Instagram aspect of everything and start creating tips and tricks videos and share them with people. Um, and I wanted to just share what I had learned and what I experienced over, the previous 13 years working with artists that you get exposure through these programs with engineers for artists like Shawn Mendes, Rihanna,
Mm.
Drake, Rush, just a whole list of amazingness. So you get a lot of insight into some of the nitty gritty things that these engineers will do. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to share it because it was at a time where sharing things online was just, gradually getting more and more, and everything was on YouTube. And yeah, I
Yeah.
just, I just kind of wanted to be one of those corners in the digital world where people could, tune in and get what they needed.
That's awesome, man. Dude, I love like this kind of shift in, I think not only like music production and educational content, but kind of the shift in I mean, like I've seen it in other areas, but like I know when I started posting my beats online, this was back in 2010. I think I started my YouTube channel, and I was the same. I was in, 14 years old when I first got FL Studio and started just clicking in random things, and kind of the years after that, kind of getting involved with selling beats. And I remember like in that time, this was like mid 2010s, I guess. It was so like secretive. Like you couldn't like tell anyone what sample you're using. You couldn't tell anyone what VSTs you're using, and it's like if somebody like I remember like people would be like, "Oh, that's a preset Nexus." And I would like delete the comment because like it was just a thing that like you had to keep stuff under wraps. And it's just like so crazy just like I think it's awesome, but just kind of seeing this shift now that like people are so open to sharing stuff and sharing secrets. And I think it's kind of helped build this just a lot of producers up. Like I think back to when I started, how there was like no resources and anything. And
Zero.
now I go to, one person's Instagram page like yourself and I can learn so much stuff, right?
Yeah, it's the Instagram and the whole social media world. Like you're gonna find like these one-stop shops. You can, and then you got like you got everybody from like creators like you that people can get a little bit what they want from out of the beat making and get inspired. They come to me, they get a one-stop shop on some Logic Pro tips. They can go to creators like Sides because she's,
Yeah.
incredible with the tips and tricks videos and all the business advice. I think it's incredible, the resources are out there and the possibilities become endless to anybody who's got an idea and is willing to stick with it.
No, I feel you, man. What do you think, like, I know, like, putting yourself out there, being a sort of content creator slash musician kind of means that you have to be comfortable in front of the camera, right? Was
Mhm.
that something that like took you a while to figure out, or like what was the jump from like, making music in GarageBand to then pulling out your phone and recording videos of yourself? What was that like?
Well, when you first start doing it, you don't really want anyone to hear you.
Yeah.
You wait until the house is empty, and then,
Oh yeah, it was the same.
say you're recording music one day and your dad comes home early from work and he hears you making these weird noises and he's like, anyways, obviously, it's a learning curve to get comfortable with that sort of thing. But once you get to the point of you just care about what you want to do so much that you don't care what someone hears,
Yeah,
like not to be mean in any way, but if someone were to come around and be like, "What are you doing? That's stupid," I'd be like, "Well, what are you doing?"
exactly. Yeah.
Right? So, from I don't know, like it got to the point where you had to pull out your phone and you had to just start recording things, and then I posted for, oh gosh, like maybe a year or so before I figured out kind of like what worked for me and the style and everything from the text overlay and just how I wanted to be presented. Like I went through a while where all I did in every single video was wear that gray hoodie.
Yeah.
It was like it was almost like attached to me. So when people saw the gray hoodie, they're like sounding like a
They
pro.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would, you know, yeah, it took me, oh my God, it took me a year of just posting everywhere to figure out what was the rhythm and blues to, creating content for me because it's a little different to everybody. Something
Totally.
works
Yeah.
differently for everybody. And that's the beauty of it. Everyone can be slightly unique in their own mannerism.
No, I love that, man. You said that so well, and I relate to that so much. Like I remember first getting kind of in the world of filming and content creation. I think this was kind of late 2010s when I first stumbled across Gary V.
Mm.
And he was, all I don't even know like really what he's up to now, but he was all about like, documenting everything and getting comfortable. And I think it took me a couple years to kind of get in front of the camera, but it's definitely kind of it's a different learning aspect, right? And I think it's one thing that's like, you know, when we first open GarageBand or FL Studio for the first time and start putting out your beats, it's like you never realize that there's all of a sudden now a million other things that I guess you could be doing or that you should be doing to get out your music, right? And I think like, knowing that and kind of seeing, your grind with not only music but also content creation, do you think that like the content creation aspect has helped out your music? Like, has it been a factor that's helped you get more eyes on your stuff? Or if you just posted your music online, like what would that look like?
I think I think the content creating would absolutely benefit my music if the content is focused towards that music.
Mm,
It's not if you've themed your page or you've geared your page around um, tips and tricks. People are coming to you for tips and tricks. They're not really going to be coming to you looking for music. Um, you know, Creators like Connor Price, right? The way he
yeah,
creates his content, people go there because they know they're going to enjoy themselves while they watch the video, and there's going to be a great song that comes along with it. So I think when it comes to getting more attention on the music that I release, it comes to just a lack of not creating content that's geared towards that goal. That's all. If that's a goal for 2025 is to be creating and putting out more and more content that is geared in a creative way for my music. So that aspect gets a bit more attention. When it comes to the tips and tricks, that's what my page is really themed around. That's what people come. That's what people follow for.
yeah,
And that's what they expect. So when you start pointing out, uh, you know, content that wants to be focused around music, it's almost like when artists start releasing albums and they gradually have to grow with your audience. Because if you put out a country album and then the next album that comes out is like crazy, like rock, you
yeah.
might you might lose some fans because it's too big of a jump. So a slow integration, if you want to do it like that, will help you, get content on your music. The page is tips and tricks themed. I absolutely want to get more content out that's focused around my music. Um, I've got a strategy that I'm working on right now to do that in a fun, gradual way, so
Nice.
it feels organic. It doesn't feel like it's being pushed. And yeah,
I think that's something that I struggle with so much because, being a producer and especially, after so many years of doing this, there's so many like opportunities that even I see and so many projects that even I want to work on. And I feel like I'm at this, point, and this is like even, just a question for my own benefit, but it's like I feel like I'm at this point where I have my social media, my Instagram, where I have a very formulaic strategy. I love doing it. It works well. I like what you said about how it's what people expect when they come to your page, right? And I think even back to, what you were saying when you wore that gray hoodie, and for a while, like people recognize that gray hoodie with, your Instagram page, and then branching out, not like fully, but, making content that's even a little bit different, right? I've always found it to kind of be a bit of a challenge, just figuring
100%.
that. Is there anything that like, you have figured out to kind of, I guess, fix that issue of like promoting two different things at once online?
I found that sometimes if you say you've got your original style,
Yeah.
and then you got two newer styles, and you got three, and you just kind of cycle that out. So it's not going from the OG style to something new, to OG style to something new.
Okay.
People are just going to be waiting for that
Yeah, it's too
original
much,
style to come
too
out,
quick back and forth, right?
right? So if you put out like almost like if you've got three different styles of reels that you put out weekly, sort of thing,
Yeah,
well, it gives them variety. They learn to expect that there is variety, and you're still going to be able to give them the same sort of education, tips, tricks, helpful, whatever, just in different styles. That's all it is. So I think I've seen some creators do that, like Beautiful Beats, Eddie.
hmm
He does a fantastic job with the type of style of content and the variety of content that he puts out. Um, and then it's just about, sticking with it. You know that if you do it one time, you're not going to get a real sense if it works or not.
Totally.
So you just got to, repeat, routine, play with it until it breaks and then try something new.
I like that, man. I like what you said about just like not going back and forth too many times. And I think that's like with me, I think that's like a lot of that's caused a lot of like I guess confusion and kind of dealt with what I'm doing, right? Because it's like, I have my beats and then I post something a little different and then I post the beats and then something different and then it's just too jumbled. So I kind of like that like more clear, organized approach. And I kind of had like two kind of questions that kind of go with that. But like when you're planning your social media, do you have like any plan or content calendar or kind of workflow for organization when it comes to like posting your reels and stuff?
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, so what I really liked to do is on Sunday afternoons, you batch up kind of like 5 reels for the week.
Yeah,
And then for me personally, I found that posting Monday through Friday between 8 and 8:30 Pacific Central Standard Time, because that's where I live,
yeah,
uh, works really well. You know, it allows my followers and new people to get a chance to see everything right at the beginning of the day, as time throughout the day to be organically, flown around the algorithm and all that. And then I don't need to worry about it throughout the week because I've batched up the content on Sunday. You go Monday through Friday, give them 5 reels. And then I almost don't post on Saturdays and Sundays because it hasn't worked for me. It works for some people, but for me, posting on weekends hasn't had the same effect that it has in the week. I don't know if my followers are, you know, treating their weekends like weekends and they're not, caring about that sort of thing. But that is what I've found works the best for me. It allows me to stay disciplined. It allows me to stay on time. And on Sundays, you usually, at least for me, usually don't have too much on the schedule. So I can sit down and I can brainstorm some ideas, and it allows me not to feel pressured like in the evening before,
yeah.
after having a long day, feeling tired, coming home, being like, okay, I've got to create a reel. And you're sitting there being like, what do I say, man? So yeah, that's what I've done to keep my content strategy kind of clear and, concise, and it's worked for me.
I love that, man. It's something that I've kind of like realized, especially like when the past few months too, is like the scheduling aspect of it with not only like my content, but also my beats. It's like I find that, um, like you said, if you're doing stuff the night before, it's so like it's so stressful, and it's like you always are gonna feel like you're fighting like an uphill battle, I think, right?
Mhm.
So it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you can like schedule stuff out like, a week in advance, it's just more organized, it's more relaxed, and it gives you a chance to kind of, I guess, better focus your content, which was kind of, leading into the second question I had, but like when you make your content and even just kind of setting up and now running your Instagram account, would you say that like the content you post has a specific end goal? Like, are you posting it so that people take action, or are you posting it so they do a specific, you know, call to actions thing, like comment, following, or click something, or like what's kind of the goal behind your daily postings?
Well, the overall goal is really just to share tips and tricks freely. That's the main goal overall. Um, there are going to be days where you do call to actions and all that, and you want to drive it to something that might be external from Instagram. Um, and I like that I have that flexibility that I don't think I would really um driving um like a sales pitch every
Yeah,
video. I'd feel a little scummy. It's not fair. That's not what anyone's really looking for.
yeah,
Um, So yeah, overall goal, posting so you can get some advice freely. Take what you want from it, use it, don't use it. That's up to you. And but there are some things that I've created that I'm extremely proud about that I think that other producers could absolutely use. At the same time, I've got to keep my light on. So, you
yeah,
have to prefer a couple bucks here and there. Um, the main I created this ultimate sample pack bundle, and it's got over 4 gigs, like thousands of sounds in all different types of genres, that I've just accumulated over the years of
yeah.
making music, um, that I have live right now, that if I'm going to send out a call to action to send them somewhere, that would be what I would want to send them, because I honestly think it's really good. I don't want to be dishing out something that's crappy.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. And it's like you got to earn their trust after a while too, right? Like if you're posting online and it's just like, especially if you're just starting out and everything is just, hey, buy this and do this for me and do this. It's like people are gonna just like, lose interest so quickly. Like you definitely have to build trust. And I think, one real kind of benefit to the creators in the educational space that I've always, appreciated and respected from these creators. It's like when I see people sharing so much content, for free, educational content, right? Even just, quick Instagram videos 5 days a week. And then it's like, then if they, want to package something together and sell it, it's like, okay, this is, it's worth it, right? I have trust in this producer. So I think that's like definitely just so crucial to kind of build up that personal brand.
Yeah, there's something that I actually, I kind of use in my day-to-day life that I also think works really well here with when it comes to creators and, you know, the fans or, the the other people.
Yeah.
Is it's give and take, you know. It's a two-way street. It's not a
Hmm.
highway and a bike path. I can't expect them to just give me and give me and give me. It's
Yeah.
not fair to them. I need to be giving them something and something of quality, something that they can trust, something that's actually useful, not something that's full of fluff. And that's just, you know, like just baseline respect if you're going to be putting out content and creating content. There's so much scummy, scammy things in the world. You don't need to be, involved and included in doing that.
Yeah. I feel you, man. I spent this like past maybe year or two taking like a really big dive into the educational space, the course space. And I was having these calls with uh, you know, what do they call them? Like course coaches
Mhm.
from different industries, people who charge like anywhere from, hundreds to $1,000 for a course. And I learned so much about it. There's some good people and, and there's some bad people out there, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I think it's just like if you can see someone like, putting in the work, um, you know, building that trust, showing that personal brand, to me, that always kind of like establishes credibility with whoever it is that I'm following or eventually, want to, buy a sound pack or a course from. And I will say too, anyone watching this, if you have your sound kit online, we'll put a link in the description so people can check that out as well. But I actually want to talk to you about kind of sound kits as well because it's kind of an interesting topic, and I think a lot of producers have questions about that. Um, I guess like what you do is you have all these kind of different streams of income, right? In sound kits, would you say like, or even just in general, like having multiple streams of incomes, is this important for producers? Like, what's your ideas behind that?
I think multiple streams of income is important to anybody.
Mm,
This world is so nuts right
yeah,
now that, multiple streams of income is going to allow you to kind of live a bit more freely of the life that you choose and not have so many, obstacles. Um, and Yeah, because, especially when the pandemic came along, I didn't really have sh streams of income. I had one stream of income and that got taken away. And so, I don't know if it was one day I decided that I wanted to be almost like pandemic proof,
yeah.
and just be able to take care of myself, my family, when things like that take in. But at the same time, I also like just creating a whole bunch of different things that could be really cool. And so, a few years ago, I created a course. I would love to update the course, again, because, I believe it's a little outdated. Um, Anything from, creating hoodies and apparels, that can be a really easy stream of income. As long as you're putting out quality, don't start ordering awful, uncomfortable sweaters.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than a sweater that shows up that like the hood isn't big enough.
There's
Uh,
like paper thin.
it's not soft. Like there's nothing worse than that. So, multiple streams of income are fantastic just for, just to have. But if you're gonna do it, make sure that those streams are quality. They're not,
Mhm.
you're not, you're doing it the right way.
No, I like that, man. And people will see the authenticity, I think,
Mhm.
very quickly. And it's something that people just like yeah, they see it, and if they connect with you and trust you, then they'll support you, right? Um, with your course and kind of other stuff that you do. I think I saw on your Instagram you do like one-on-one consultations, and this is something that I think is kind of really interesting in the producer space because kind of going back to what we were talking about kind of earlier in the conversation, how being a producer online used to be this thing where you would be so secluded and you wouldn't talk with anyone or even show yourself, right? I remember myself for the longest time online, I just had my logo and no one knew who I was, no one knew who I looked like. So like with these kind of one-on-one consultations, how like important do you think that is for your brand? And would you recommend, that kind of strategy to other producers, selling beats or kits or services or anything like that?
I love them. It allows you to, personally connect with somebody who's been following you, who's been looking for your tips and tricks, and you get to expand on that on a deeper level. You get to sit down one on one and go through specific, song files and really expand and get, become really just get it on a more personable level. I thrive off collaborative work.
Nice.
I can work independently, but working along with somebody, it's just so much more fun. To me, it's a bit more fulfilling. When I'm posting tips and tricks, I know that people are out there watching them, but when you're on a call with somebody and you're helping them and they get that almost light bulb moment, it makes you feel really good. It makes them feel really good, you know, I'm just a regular guy in a room creating content. That's all I am, right? I'm not bigger than anybody. I'm just another dude that just wants to help. And if I know some stuff that can help you, let's do it. And getting on a call just allows a deeper dive into helping them with what they really need.
Ah, I love that, man. And I think like um I think you mentioned it in the beginning, but I know that even before, we hopped on the call, you and I were just talking about how we're both Canadian and it wasn't until I feel like into the 2010s where like the music scene in Canada was kind of picking up a little bit, but I feel like, the internet has still given us so many opportunities to connect with people and I feel like yeah, it's like important to have those connections, right? And that's where you learn the most things from, and in many ways have the most fun, right? And being a producer in Canada, that doesn't have the biggest music scene, especially years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a good way to yeah, to connect with people like that.
Yeah, it allows me to learn too. You
Yeah,
meet some people from all over the world, and they're gonna show me how they're making their music, and it's gonna be different from how I make my music.
yeah,
And um, learn something once a day. I love that. That's what I try to do. If I can learn something once a day from someone, that's fantastic. If I can teach someone something, that's awesome too. But if I can learn something from someone once a day, you know, um, I've almost like checked off that day. That's a
that's
successful
awesome.
day for me.
I
So
love
yeah, yeah,
that,
the
man.
whole branching out the community into different aspects of the world, people making different music in different ways. I can help them, but they can also help me.
Yeah, I feel that, man. Like, dude, I've learned so much, with both producing my beats and selling them online, just from listening to like feedback from artists, like getting on calls that I do, sessions over Zoom. It's even showed me like little things, like when I'm working with an artist and they're like, oh, I want my verse this long and my verse and my hook this long and my pre-hook this long. This is all stuff that like since I'm not, writing the lyrics and recording the vocals, it's stuff that like I would have never, thought about, right? So it's definitely again, it's like a two-way street even with that, right? And the collaboration aspect I think is so important when it comes to music and kind of all aspects.
Yep, absolutely. The whole idea about social media that when it was created was to connect people, to keep us connected. So yeah, when you connect with somebody, you don't, it doesn't just have to be a DM. It doesn't just have to be a
Mm.
comment, right?
I love that, man. I had one other question about you for social media, and then I know in these kind of interviews we kind of segue into talking about some AI and music stuff, which is ever evolving. But one kind of final question that I had that I wanted to ask you about social media. I saw a couple years ago on your TikTok that you had a video that got 1 million views, and
Yeah.
I think it's at 1 million views now. And man, what was that like? Because I've never had a video cross the 1 million views threshold. It's a goal of mine for this year, just because I want to like say that I have that. But like,
Mhm.
what was that like for you? Like having that kind of blow up?
Dude, it was super random. It was, how TikTok is. It was super, I had posted it years ago.
Yeah,
And I don't know, the algorithm picked it up one day and it just kind of shot it out there. And I was going, I kind of like was giving up on the TikTok platform for a bit, hearing rumblings about how the app was going to get removed here in
yeah,
Canada and all. So I wanted to focus harder on apps that were you knew were
yeah.
absolutely going to be around. And so I opened it up one day and I've got all these notifications. And I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah.
So I scroll along and I find the video and I'm like this is the video that is making 1 million views. It wasn't one like a tips and tricks thing. It
This-
wasn't promoting a song. It was just like spoofy, funny, playoffs of, a producer joke kind of thing.
yeah.
And yeah, and then one day I hopped on and it was 1.1 million views. I'm like, that's insane, man. Cool. I got 1 million views on a video. Nuts. I got followers from it. I got likes from it. I got exposure from it. But I just thought it was the most random way that I got 1 million views on a video.
It's
And
always how it works.
to me, it made no sense. So I was like, okay, cool.
Did did you yeah, I know what you mean. It's always like so random. It's the ones that you least expect. Did you like alter your content in any way after that? Or like did it kind of shift your perspective in some ways?
I've thought about if I make content and it starts, kind of following the same guidelines of that one video, would it produce the same sort of attention. I've thought about it. I'm still in the thinking phase about that. I'm still trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to, you know, smoothly move into some of these new content styles, without shocking with the followers.
Hmm.
So it got me thinking. That's for sure. It got
Yeah.
me thinking that, there's numerous ways that that can all this can work. It doesn't have to be just the one style. So yeah, it was just yeah, random.
It's always how it works, man. I remember like and sometimes like you said it takes like months for a video just to pop off out of nowhere. One of my best performing YouTube videos for the past few years, like it went 6 months being my worst performing video. And it was just like it got like barely any views, and then all of a sudden 6 months later I saw a little increase, and I still don't even really know how. And then it kind of like took off, but the same thing, it was just something that I was like paying attention to, and I was like something worth noting, right? And I always tell people too, it's like when you're posting and especially when you're getting started posting stuff online, like looking at things kind of on a day by day basis, like you're not really going to see like a lot of growth right away, right?
No,
And
man,
then so sometimes it's just like it takes months, but then also sometimes it's worth just really noting those ones that do perform a little bit better. And it doesn't have to be even 1 million views, but I would just tell people it's like, yeah, if you have one thing that like is taking off, like there's a reason for that, right? And you try and think about it, right?
yeah, no, yeah, you absolutely take note of what works and start just keep doing it, even do like a little bit of a variation of that to keep it kind of fresh
Yeah.
and but yeah, absolutely. Take note of the things that do well because there's a lot of times where videos just don't.
It's so many times, man. So I wanted to ask, kind of pivot this conversation and talk about AI and music, which I know is probably going to be
Mhm.
something that we're going to hear a lot about through 2025. I feel like with AI, like it gets to a point where I'm like, wow, that's impressive. And then it's like, okay, I'm kind of used to it. And then, wow, this is a change, and I'm used to it. And then this. So yeah, I guess before we get too ahead of it, what's your like current opinion on AI? I want to ask you kind of two parts because you do two things, but like, what's your opinion on AI in music and AI in content creation? Since you kind of, I would say, do both things.
I think there's good and bad to AI. Absolutely. I can just sit right on the fence just like that.
Yeah.
So AI in music, I think it's good. I think it's good to have that help, especially if you know the tools and you know how you're making your music. It allows you to just kind of branch out into like another creative direction that you could like that or you couldn't like. Um, I think that especially in 2025, we're going to be starting to see, I think we'll see kind of AI being slightly more integrated directly into certain DAWs.
Mm, okay.
You see AI built into some plugins already, but I
Yeah.
feel like, Logic Pro might be a platform that tinkles with it being, associated with Apple and all that jazz. Um, some of the tools that I've seen have been really good, but some of them have been bad. They're just not developed enough. There's not enough, information or
Yeah.
technology behind that aspect of the AI circumstance. In content creating, I think it can help make people who hate creating content their lives easier. But at the same time, it can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like you do these voiceovers of some of these, leading artists in the industry, and you can slap it on a video and you can fool a bunch of people, and that's not what AI is
Yeah.
made for. Like I remember some voice AI thing came out, and I wanted to play around with it. So I wrote up a script about how my course was the best in the world, and I had Snoop Dogg talking.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm listening back and I'm like, nah, this is scary, man. That sounds exactly like the dude. I can't. That's no, like, and it was free.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can make your life easier when it comes to like, editing the videos and making them look the way you want, feel the way you want, but it also can be
There's
terrifying.
kind of a fine line, man. And dude, like I like how you said that you turned your voice into Snoop Dogg because that's what the Drake diss was in his, Kendrick Lamar beef.
Oh
And
yeah.
then we all know how that turned like
Yeah.
that was so man, that's so funny. But yeah, I feel you, man. It's like it's definitely a fine line between like, wow, this is like this shouldn't be a thing, and then this is like this is really cool. This is useful. I feel like I always go back and forth on it, and I like see stuff that like blows me away, and I'm like, oh man, this is like, is this the end of music production? Is this the end of making beats? Is this like the end? And I go kind of in this like doomsday panic mode, and then I kind of realize it's like, okay, maybe this is just a tool that I can use. Like, I've been using some AI tools with content creation recently that like can kind of I found this one that's pretty cool, and it like takes all the pauses out of my videos and it like
Yeah.
trims it together. So all of a sudden, if I have a video with me talking, 20, 30 minutes about making music or beats or anything like that, I can run it through this tool. I think it's called Time Bolt,
Mhm.
and it like cuts all the pauses out and then it gives me all of them. So it's like I could do that myself. It would take me a few hours instead of a
Yep.
few seconds, which like that's like when I find something like that, I'm like, dude, this is
Money.
like just saved me like so much time and it
Yep.
allows me to make more videos, be more creative. Maybe like I like editing, but sometimes I find that editing videos it's like tedious and it's
Sure.
like I'm spending an hour just like looking for all these cuts in videos. So if I can cut it down like that, then I can do like a lot more fun stuff, right?
Yeah, tools are there to, help you make your life easier, make your process easier, but the tools aren't to be taken advantage of.
Yeah. Are there like any like specific ones that like that you have been using in both your music and content creation that like you've been really impressed by, like stuff that you use kind of often now?
The most the thing I probably use the most often that has some sort of AI capability is the Lander mastering tool,
Mm, yeah,
or even the built-in Logic AI mastering tool. That's probably the most extent I've had. I've kind of liked how smart it is. Oh, there's the plugin Neutron 4 Elements by Isotope, and
yeah.
like an AI mixing assistant. I have found
Okay,
that tool is wildly powerful.
interesting.
It makes some of the muddiest things sound so clear with yeah. It's
That's
awesome. And it was free for a bit. So,
okay.
I got it for free and then made a video telling everybody to go get it.
That's
Uh,
awesome, man. I gotta try that. I use the lander one pretty often. It's like
mhm,
for some reason like I like my mixes that I make,
mhm.
and then I think that they're like decent. And then land like I throw it in lander and it just like boosts it up like another level. Like so I feel like I don't know, just again another tool. I'm interested to see that mixing one too because it's like again it's just like mixing beats. It's like I find really again tedious and it's not my favorite aspect when it comes to producing. And sometimes yeah, like I'll have a muddy mix and it's just like I can't figure out like for the life of me like what is causing this, right? So if there's like a tool out there that can kind of fix that problem for me, then I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get this Neutron 4 Elements thing. It's wicked. On the side, it's got all the different variations of what like musically, instrument wise, you could focus on everything down to the voice to the overall instrumental. It's damn near good.
That's awesome. And if it's like an integration like right within the DAW,
Yeah.
that's super useful too. I like what like I never kind of realized, how Apple Intelligence might have a an influence in Logic Pro. I use FL Studio, so like that's still kind of foreign to me, but that could be kind of really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All those sorts of companies are fiddling around with it.
Yeah, everyone's
It
kind of
all
scrambling, I feel like, right?
and they're all starting to integrate them in all these different aspects of their products. And I feel like Logic Pro might just be looked at throughout the 2025 year, and we might see something in 2026. We might see something in 2025. We might not see anything at all. But I think just
Yeah,
because it's Apple owned, we there's a chance we could.
that's crazy. Yeah, and I feel like yeah, if it's integrated, it has like just the ability to change everything. That's crazy. Man, I did this one technique recently. I was editing a video like this, an hour long uh podcast session, and I had to split up into shorts. So I did like the craziest thing, and I felt like a mad scientist. I took the I use Premiere Pro to edit my videos, and they have an AI transcript. So like it'll auto detect like the voices, like basically every time we say anything to the second. And I downloaded the transcript file and I uploaded it to ChatGPT and I said like analyze this into 10 shorts and then give me the time codes. And it like, came up with like 10 shorts based on so I'll be doing it for this one too. And then I said like okay, I could go into that video now and because it gave me the time codes, right? Like it was like, we talked about, reverb at 5 minutes, this at 20 minutes, whatever. And I said, it took me a couple like prompts in the chat GPT, but I was like, give me an XML file that I can drag and drop into Premiere and it'll cut that. And then it gave me a file. I uploaded it. It gave me an error at first. So I was like, give me this error code. I did it again. It gave me another error code. The third time it worked out and it gave me a code that I literally dragged and dropped. It had 10 shorts like ready to go there. It was insane. Like it was something, dude, that like it would
That's
have taken
wild.
me like at least a whole day just to figure
Yeah.
out and review the video back and go into where, me and these other guests talked about specific things. And it's just like, it cut down my workload. Again, it would have been a whole day project that I did in basically like an hour or two. And it was just insane, man. So like stuff like that is crazy. I felt like just like a mad scientist trying to figure it
You figured it out.
out.
I don't know. I think that's what these AI tools are meant for. Exactly that, to make your life more efficient, more effective. It opens up time for you to work on other things, even things that you want to do. Maybe even if you just want to give yourself the time and not,
Yeah.
not do any work. I think that's exactly what they're used for. Um, I gotta see this. I gotta see this page of the ChatGPT
I'll
prompt.
have to
How
show you how it works, man,
crazy
because
it gets.
it was like, dude, it was like I was just like, I don't know. It kept giving me these error messages, and I was like, it's giving me this error message, and then it like typed back. It was like, oh, sorry about that. Let me try a different like coding system, and I was like, okay. It was like I tried it again. And it was like, oh, it's now saying this, and it's like, okay, we'll try this, and it got it, and it was like, I didn't know like you could like upload files to ChatGPT too. I was gonna try to another time a few weeks before that, and then I kind of ran out of like I don't know how often you use it, but with ChatGPT now you get like you get certain like things that you can do and tell to it under their free plan.
Right.
And then like some more advanced stuff, basically you need like their paid plan. And I think every like day you get like a certain number of like paid prompts basically. And I
Mhm.
was trying to use it to edit a MIDI file that I had because somebody I was working on a beat for someone, and they told me they want like these specific chord progressions. I don't really know a whole lot about music theory, but I was like, make me a chord, make me a MIDI file that has these chords in it, basically. And it was like kind of doing it, and then I ran out of free minutes, so I couldn't. But like,
That's crazy.
I don't know, man, because it was like I had like a chord, like I had a MIDI file and I don't know if it was like, C to A to G to F or whatever. And they were like, make it C to B9 to G to F sharp. And so they were kind of like modifying it a little bit. So I was like trying to upload what I had and change it. And then I ran out of free minutes, but I have to try that again because like, I
I'm
don't know.
trying
It
that
was
this
just like,
afternoon. That's nuts.
yeah, like uploading files to it was like insane, man. I'll have to show you the stuff I do with editing the videos because that was pretty crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just like any tools like that where it like cuts down my workflow. I'm like, man, this is like a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. All for tools like that, 100%. Make your life easier.
Yeah, man. So before like we kind of like wrap this up, I wanted to ask you just your plans for this, this year, 2025. We're basically just starting the new year as we're filming this. I was, looking through your profile. I know you kind of mentioned this a few times, but kind of I know you recently, have been putting out your own music,
Mhm.
under your, I guess, your own artist name, singing, recording vocals and songs. I heard the Christmas song that you made, which I really like that one too. Do you think like is that kind of a focus of yours for 2025 or what else like are you focusing on for this year?
No, 100% a bigger focus on the Spotify side of things. Spent, a couple of years just neck deep, head deep in Instagram, creating rules, tips, and tricks. And was making music, sending them to catalogs and all that jazz. But all us producers were making music. We want to sing on our songs. We want it to be us.
Yeah.
So, trying to figure out exactly how it all works for me, as I am not a tremendous singer. So you got to figure out how to make that all work. Um, but yeah, I been create working on a release plan and
Nice.
steps to get to that release part of the plan over the holidays. So I definitely want to be, creating music, creating content around the music, driving eyes over there because, in this day and age, all it takes is one song, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
this huge community of people that you can really share a lot more music with. And that's the whole goal at the end of the day is, just to be making music and sharing it with as many people that resonate with it.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited to hear like everything else you've got coming, and then
I got to
so-
keep up with you. Your music's your beats are so good, man.
I appreciate that, man. It's again, it's a grind over here, right? But it all just comes back to the love of making music, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. That's at the end of the day, that's the overall main goal. Just make music. If you can make music and you can go day to day and live life and survive, you're living the dream.
I love that, man. And I had one final question here. So as we just were talking about um, what this year holds for yourself, what do you think that 2025 holds for producers as a whole? You know, everyone else.
I think with the with all the social media platforms and the ability to put yourself out there yourself, I think it's just going to get better. I think you're going to see a lot more thriving independent artists and, producers on Spotify, creating bigger and bigger communities while, integrating a bit of AI into it. I think that's what you're going to see in 2025 for the big portion of us. But at the end of the day, the world changes so fast. So, in 6 months, we could be talking about something completely brand new.
Yeah. It's too funny, man. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, I guess it just comes all back to the love of making music, right? I love
Yeah.
that.
And no, that's all I really care about. Making great music with great people. I mean, yeah, like the end goal is to make timeless music. And if you can make timeless music and, it lives on after you're gone, I think that's
That's a
incredible.
legacy there.
Yeah, it's very, very profound.
Nah, totally, man. Well, dude, I love that. And dude, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us here. This awesome conversation. I'm gonna link in the description. I'll get the links from you, but I'll link your kits and I will link your Spotify profile because
Nice.
I would love to share your music with our audience here and anything else you want to promote. But let us know where any of the viewers here can find more stuff about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share them with Omido Beats right here. The links will be in the description down below. Is it called description or
Yeah,
caption on YouTube this day?
I think description, but yeah, we'll link everything there.
Yeah, absolutely. I thank you so much for having me on. I had the most fun ever.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Cheers, man. I hope you have a fantastic day.
You too, man. Peace.